Welcome back to the channel, you guys. Welcome back to Ironclad RC. Got the Deltaforce 35 on the freaking block. Okay, this is my rebuild series. Okay, this boat's been through so many changes, it's ridiculous. All right, in the last video with the boat, we stripped everything out. Okay, everything, all the electronics, bare hull basically. Okay, we pulled this 4082 out with the 175 RC boat bits. We're gonna be throwing in the Spektrum 4685 and a ZTW 200. Okay, this is a big block, so we're gonna have to modify this 40mm mount and make a carbon fiber motor mount and front support. Okay, we're also going to be using some chop strand fiberglass, possibly some carbon fiber to kind of reinforce the hull, the motor mount, the motor bed, reworking the weight distribution in the boat, installing new trim tabs, probably filling some holes back here to accommodate the trim tabs, and basically just rebuilding the freaking boat. Might be a long video. Stick around. Big B with Ironclad RC. First kind of put two and two together with this 1350 kV motor I had laying around, I was kind of like iffy about it. Well, for one, the size. I would have to reconfigure the whole boat for this particular setup. But the more I think about it, I've actually done some math, and it actually makes sense. It actually makes sense. So with this motor, 1350 kV, compared to the 1900 kV motor I've taken out of the boat, we're only really looking at basically 2000 RPM difference. Basically. On 8S with the 1350 Spektrum motor, we'll have 39,960, just say 40,000 RPM, just to make it easy, round it up, 40,000 RPM. The rocket motor, 1900 kV, we had 42,000 RPM on 6S. But I was only limited to running 42 to 45 millimeter props efficiently without overheating the motor or the ESC, without going into an LVC cut or a temp cut type deal. So it was actually fast on 6S. So we're going to be putting a bigger motor in the boat, bigger ESC, more weight. We're going to be able to turn larger props more efficiently. Okay, now for speed runs, this isn't my first choice, but I think we're going to have some good speed on 8S. Now, since I'm putting big props on the boat, I'm going to have to fall back on my original setup. I used to run a 4060 1600 kV motor in this boat with a Hobbywing 130 high voltage ESC. I was able to turn some fairly decent sized props with that low kV 4060 motor, and I would actually run my ESC back in the corner back here, so I could run 8S, 6 and 8S up here, and I would kind of put my ESC here to counteract any type of torque roll. Now, this boat's not real bad for torque rolling. It's got a ride pad, and it's actually a really stable boat. With the 6S motors, I was actually running my ESC right here. Okay, centralizing the boat, and she handled like a dream. So with the new setup, basically gonna move my ESC back here. Okay, this is a much heavier motor. Let me get a scale. So when you're building an RC boat, a postal scale comes in handy so much. I mean, or any kind of scale. I use this thing all the time, you guys. So this motor is 1 pound 7 ounces. That's crazy. That's crazy. This motor is only 1 pound. Okay, 1 ounce. Well, 0.1 ounce. 1 pound. So it's a half a pound heavier, basically. Half a pound heavier. Okay, so the ESC and the motor weighs 2 pounds 5 ounces. The old electronics setup weighed 1 pound 7 ounces. So it's 1 pound heavier. 1 whole pound heavier, my new electronics. So the lower kV is going to definitely come in handy, especially running some bigger batteries, bigger 8S batteries, yeah, that's going to be an awesome setup. I think it's going to be awesome. Yeah, my boat's going to be heavier, and a lot of times a heavier boat doesn't perform as well as a light boat. So I'm kind of like, I'm really worried about it. I'm really worried about how the boat's going to handle with an extra pound of weight in the boat. You know, this boat hull is actually really light. Let's get a weight on the hull itself. So the boat hull itself weighs 3 pounds 4 ounces. I got the motor, ESC, stinger, trim tabs, flex cable, and some 8S packs. Okay, 4S twins. 8 pounds. So she weighs 8 pounds. The Blackjack 42 weighs 15 pounds. So this boat's basically half the weight of the 42 fully loaded. Okay, with that 1350 kV, big props, proper tune, proper weight distribution, I think it's going to be fast. I want to go ahead and fill in these holes for my trim tabs. Now, my trim tabs, they're a lot bigger than the trim tabs I had on the boat. The hole is mounted higher than the original trim tabs I had on here. Like I said, I'm cutting these in half. All right, they're a stainless steel trim tab that has a carbon fiber sticker on it. Okay, so as you can see, the hole is much higher than the original one. Okay, so I'm basically got to fill and re-drill a hole like literally a millimeter higher than what I had it, but it's got to be done, and you know, to do it the right way, this is how you do it. So I've already taped up one side so you guys can see what I'm talking about, because I'm not going to be able to video this. I'm doing it all from the inside, so it's going to be real tight. And I'm going to blue masking tape this. I wiped it down with alcohol. Okay, we're going to put blue masking tape on it, and we're going to do all of our work from the inside. Okay, I use this stone that I've actually kind of modified the shape, and I basically stuck it in my existing hole and basically wallered it out and feathered it. I grind it around the outside, you know, where I'm going to be putting my epoxy so it sticks. Okay, I did both sides like that. I kind of did a little bit more than what I should have, because I'm going to fill it in with all, you know, epoxy and fiberglass chopped up. You could use micro balloons for this as well, but I'm going to use fiberglass is what I have. Okay. Probably stand the boat up so it, you know, drips down into all the little nooks and crannies. There's a lot of new boaters on my channel, and you know, this stuff, you guys get old boats, and this may help you guys rebuild an old boat, you know. So I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Before, after. Okay, I got it filled with fiberglass chopped up and epoxy. Okay, I got all 4 of my holes filled up. Gonna give that a couple hours to kick off. I got my motor here, all right, and I've been doing a little bit of tinkering here, and I went ahead and cut my motor mount out. And it's actually pretty rigid, pretty stout. I was surprised at how stout that is, you know. So that's basically what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut my motor mount support so that it slides in to these 2 slits, you know, and locks in there. That way later on, if I want to put a 40mm motor back in the boat, 40, 82 or 40, 92 size motors, I can use this support ring, you know, so I'm not going to epoxy this in. So that's going to be convenient, okay? And I should be able to mount up a 40 series motor on the existing holes for this big guy, you know. So this is kind of what it's going to look like in the boat. All right, that looks pretty good. It actually works out perfect. So if you guys are upgrading this motor in the 42, you kind of have an idea of how to modify a boat to make it work in. So it's actually the next day. I've been working on the motor mount. As you can see, I got both sides matched up perfect, kind of refined the shape, and I've actually started working on my motor mount. Now this is the first rendering. Okay, keep that in mind. So what I need to do is actually notch the top of this mount where I want my motor mount to go. Okay, so I can reduce the length of these slits in my motor mount and refine the overall shape. Okay, my number one goal with this boat is efficiency and durability. Okay, I want The low kV motor is going to give me efficiency. I should be able to run ovals efficiently and hopefully fast. As you can see, I've used some fiberglass chop strand mat here. Basically put a strip from here to here, and I rolled it up onto my motor mount. Okay, it's actually extremely rigid and strong right now. Okay, this is basically going to disperse the load from the motor on the hull. Okay, distribute some of the weight around the motor mount, so it's not gonna give us any kind of stress cracks on the bottom of our boat with that heavy £1.5 motor. Okay, as I've got some chop strand mat tour right here, I actually thinned. This is a heavy mat, so I thinned it. I pulled a lot of the hairs off to reduce the thickness, so I don't have so much weight going in the boat. I pulled that. I don't cut my mat with scissors. I always pull my mat off the rest of the mat, so I get a nice thin outer edge. Okay, that leaves like a nice transition in the boat. You guys see right here, you can barely see where the mat ended. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to mount my ESC over on the left side of the boat. Okay, this ZTW ESC is really heavy, so that's going to actually give me some weight to counteract any torque roll we may have with a larger prop. The mat out, I got some tore. I'm actually going to reinforce the tip of my boat. I've hit the tip. I've crashed this boat several times into the Christmas trees doing fast laps, and I've repaired it several times, crashed it several times, so I'm going to leave it blunt. It's no big deal to me. It's just cosmetic. So I'm going to take some of that mat, chop it up, not real fine, but leave it stringy, and I'm going to take a stick and with epoxy and shove it up in the bow where that light's showing right there. That's going to reinforce the tip. It's all cured out. I've been sanding on it. I'm going to try to get it kind of smoothed out. Finished up the forward part of the build, reinforcing the nose. I used a carbon fiber chop strand fiberglass mix, and basically got it about, I don't know, 10 inches away from the tip on the seam there, just to kind of give the forward section of the boat some reinforcement. Okay, so I got the boat painted up. It looks pretty good. All right, I'm not going to tell you guys what I painted my boat with, because I don't want any scrutiny and BS in the comments telling me I'm using the wrong materials, blah, blah, blah. All you need to know is it's painted, okay? The perfect paint that I found. And this is what I painted it with last time, and it works good. So I got my trim tabs cut. Okay, I basically I'm going to make 2 sets out of the one, all right? And I actually ran into an issue, which I kind of figured it was going to happen, but I was actually going to work it out, you know, take my time and work it out. So with this trim tab sitting under my rudder right here, it's going to be way too low. Okay, you guys see how low the trim tab's sitting, lower than the boat. Okay, so maybe you guys can see it better here. I modified them. So I cut the aluminum base down. I cut this part right here down where my fingernail's at, okay? And I cut the back of this down. Then I re-drilled my holes. Okay, now I can get it to fit under there without any modifications to the existing hardware or hull. Okay, so I think that's gonna work. All right, so what I've actually done, because I'm a cheap ass, I'm poor, I'm broke, you know. I try to build my boats on a budget, if you guys could tell already. So what I did is I took my screws and I put them in my drill and a grinding stone, and I reduced the size of them, because if I didn't, they would have, that one, you could see it would have stuck past the bracket, okay, and it would have basically put some pressure on my trim tab. So I went through and did all 4 of my screws, reduced the size, and where my tensioner screw is going to be, it's basically going to be right through here. You know, I'll put my screwdriver through there to tension up that screw right there. So what I did for that, you guys can definitely tell right here. Okay, I reduced the size of the head, so when it's sticking through my rudder right there, you know what I'm saying, it won't impede on the rudder. All right, and that's gonna work. That's basically gonna go right here And you know, I might as well do it to the other one so that they match, you know. So I'll put it in my drill chuck, spin it on a grinding stone, and basically reduce the size. And then I put them all on a piece of sandpaper, like 300, to kind of shine them up a little bit. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go ahead and get them mounted up. There's nothing really for you guys to see, you know. So yeah. All right, so I got the trim tabs on the boat. They actually look perfect. Okay, this is the longest trim tab I've used on this boat, and I kept them, you know, farther out from center. Okay, I don't want any disturbed water going to my propeller. Okay, let me flip it over. I'll show you guys what they look like with a straight edge on them. Okay, I usually mount mine about a half a millimeter higher than the ride surface. Okay, it's just what I like to do on monohulls. On catamarans, I mount them about 2 or 3 millimeters higher than the ride surface, which I don't recommend trim tabs on a catamaran, but you need them on some. On a monohull, you know, you don't really need them, but it's a great tuning aid to have on your boat. Nice transition so the water breaks off the back of the trim tab nicely. Okay, so as you can see, I've got room to get to my tensioner screw. I actually need to throw a nut on there to for fine-tune adjustment to keep the tensioner screw on point. I grounded them down, like I said, so it doesn't like scratch up my rudder while I'm running them in and out the trim tab adjuster plate. I also got my motor mount worked out. I didn't do it on camera because every time I do stuff on camera here lately, I've got guys telling me I'm doing stuff wrong. So, you know, I didn't cut my trim tabs on camera because somebody would tell me I'm using the wrong thing to cut it and I need to do it this way or that way type deal. So, yeah. So, yeah, I'm not going to... Yeah, anyway. I got my motor mount worked out. Okay. It's not epoxied in. I just got it cut. Okay. You guys see it? I got to make that center hole a little bit larger and change these out. This is not the screws I'm using. I just threw those in there for the time being. The forward mount right here, I got it where it's like squeezed in there. Okay, and I can get it out so I can use my motor ring, like support ring for a 40 series motor, so I could take advantage of this later on. Alright, so just going to sit in there like that. I'm going to epoxy this motor mount into place. I may actually drill another set of holes farther apart, up and down, in case I have a motor that uses a different bolt pattern or something. You know, maybe a 2.5 option or something like that, because this is a 3mm mounting option. Okay, so it's basically sits in there like that. Kind of bent my stuffing tube a little bit, trying to get it like, you know, get the right angle there. So, you know, finding the bolt pattern on your motor can be kind of a pain in the butt. So what I did is I punched a center hole for the shaft. I put a piece of paper on there, took my pencil, and marked out the holes, and then I just transferred the holes onto my motor mount. Okay, pretty easy. My stuffing tube bent. It's ready to be mounted. I went ahead, sanded my paint down in the hole here and around my motor mount. I got it all sanded down, ready for carbon fiber and Bob Smith slow cure. I roughed up my motor mount, as you guys can see, on both sides so that the epoxy sticks to it. I didn't drill a second or third, a second mounting option. I'm just going to run this because this is a common size. I checked all my other motors and it's common. So I'm going to go with it. Okay, this front plate right here, I got it where it slides in. Okay, and it basically going to lock in right there. And it's basically just going to support the back of the motor, so there's not so much pressure up here. Now, the only thing I am worried about, this is a heavy motor, is when I flip, if the motor's going to want to do that number there. You know what I'm saying? I don't have anything holding the motor in to the mount on the front part. The back's going to be supported. And it's so what I'm going to do to kind of solve that problem is kind of go heavy with my carbon fiber chop strand, and when I epoxy this into the boat, I'm going to basically like add some carbon fiber around the motor mount, especially on my joint right here, so it don't want to, you know, flex or nothing when I'm in a crash. I actually used this little mirror right here. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see, but it's kind of hard for me to see, but I was checking to make sure my motor isn't sitting on the bottom of the hull, and it's not. You know, I was worried about that, but I was trying to get the motor as low as I can, as low angle as I can, so I can throw this support ring on a 40 series motor. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this epoxied in the boat. I'll show you guys what it looks like when we're done. I've been busy, you guys. I've been busy. Got the trim tabs on, got the motor mounted up. I used carbon fiber epoxy around the motor mount, all the way around, inside and out, both sides. All four corners of my joint right here for this guy. The forward support is just kind of floating in there. Alright, and it's solid. Okay, I can pick the motor up, the boat up by the motor, shake it around. I don't feel any kind of flex at all. I got my stuffing tube installed. Okay, that looks pretty good. Epoxied into the boat. I left it a little bit long. Normally I don't leave it this long with this style stinger so I can get maximum positive and negative adjustability. No, I've been seeing a lot of grease. I normally run my stuffing tube about right here. I've been seeing a lot of grease coming out my strut, so I'm gonna run it a little bit longer into my stinger here, so we don't have any grease coming out the drive line. Okay, it's gonna work. I'm about to mount that up. So I'm gonna get all this hooked up. I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Alright, got all the major modifications out the way. All I gotta do is install ESC, battery straps, bind everything, and hook it up. D-U-N done. Oh man, I've been working on this boat for like the last 4 days. Like any bit of spare time I had, I was working on this boat. So I got the ESC installed. Okay, it's double side taped on. I got all the coolant run. I used this little this is part of a hose clamp. I cut the little slits off, bent this to consolidate my coolant lines so they're not flopping all over the place. Motor's mounted up and she's in there. I got 8S in the boat, picking the motor up just from the motor, and she's in there, boy. She ain't going nowhere. Alright, got the stuffing tube installed, original flex cable, original coupler. Okay, 3-year-old coupler and flex cable. We're gonna run with this low kV motor. We're gonna run it until it snaps in half. Okay, I got the servo linkage in, got the bellow all hooked up, zip tied on there. She's ready to go. Loctite marine adhesive, the stinger and the trim tabs all sealed up, ready to roll. Okay, so with this motor right here, something that you guys need to pay attention to when you're setting a gap on a motor like this. You guys see how much gap I have. Normally I don't run that much gap on my boats, okay, but this motor, it's got like some slop. Well, I wouldn't call it slop. It's just got some like forward and back movement. Okay, so you want to set your flex cable with the flex cable coupler push, the shaft pushed forward into the boat. Okay, you push it forward into the boat and you set your gap. See, I got my gap set for like cable twist restriction. Okay, so we don't bottom it out with big props. All right, but that's how you set it with, you know, so you don't radial load the flex cable or the motor. All right, everything's hooked up. I'm gonna spool it up for you guys and show you guys the servo moving, loud noise. So you've been warned. All right, got a servo. Yes sir buddy. This bearing's got a loud bearing. I don't care. So the only thing I'm worried about with this boat is this ESC being up to the task. In the 42 with this ESC, this motor, some fairly decent sized props, it would power cut when you go full throttle. Okay, that's the only thing I'm worried about with this boat. It's about 6 pounds lighter than the 42, so hopefully we don't get power cuts running the props that I want to run on this boat with this ESC. If we do get power cuts, it's coming out, because I'm done with power cuts. I'm putting the XLX2 in it. I'm done. So we'll run it. We'll see, you know, if it has power cuts. Like I said, it's coming out. So I did some more reinforcements off camera. I took some like a really thick, hairy carbon fiber and epoxy mix, and I basically run it from here to here on that seam. I picked my boat up a lot right here, and I wanted to reinforce it. I hit a submerged piling with this boat a while back. You guys see that? And when I hit it, it actually busted the seam loose. I've re-epoxied the seam. That's good. So I basically reinforced this left side of the boat with some carbon fiber. I also like beveled the inside of the boat. I got a crack and it was broke through, so I beveled the inside, okay, and then I feathered it out, and then I put some epoxy and then carbon fiber cloth, and then I did a carbon fiber epoxy mix, and then I did it 3 different occasions, so it should be ironclad. I built it up, and then I put like a little mix right here on the inside, on that corner, kind of fill it in, give it some more strength. I also put a patch of carbon fiber I had left over right here where I have some crazing, some spider webbing, okay, just to give it some reinforcement. And I packed the bow full of foam. I got 4 pieces, one on top, one on bottom on the V, and then I got a piece over here and a piece over here, and I got it all packed, like jammed in there. All right, so when we take a hard hit, you know, it'll have something to fall back on. No flex, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, she's done, man. I'm really stoked about it. I'm ready to get it on the water, you guys. I really am. Like I said, I'm worried about the freaking ESC, so we'll throw an XLX2 in it if it power cuts with big props. So I'm gonna let you guys go. All right, Big B with Ironclad RC. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel.